Every day I have people that stop in the store here at Anderson Seed & Garden and ask, how do we keep our hanging baskets and our planters looking so beautiful through the hot, dry part of the summer? And they've been just absolutely gorgeous this year. But we have a secret recipe, and I'm gonna share that secret recipe with you so that you can keep your baskets looking really good. And it's actually really pretty easy to do. You just have to be persistent and consistent throughout the summertime. And there's a couple little tricks that'll really help you keep those planters looking their best through the summertime. The first thing that we do is, this is in a 12-inch pot, so this is basically the same pot except for this one's green, the exact same pot that this planter is in. So there's not a whole lot of soil that is sustaining this plant. So what happens is when it gets 90, 95, 100 degrees outside every day through the summertime, that soil dries out really quickly, and it's very difficult to rehydrate it and get it to hold the moisture. And what happens is, as the soil dries out, it'll pull away from the edge of the pot, and then every time you water it, the water won't like saturate down through the soil. It actually goes down the edge of the pot and drains out the bottom. So you may be watering it thinking that you're giving it plenty of water, and actually what's happening is the water's just running around the outside of the soil, the ball of soil, and just pouring out the bottom, and you're looking at it going, oh, it's saturated because the water's coming out the bottom. I've given it plenty of water. So the trick is to make sure that we do some things so that that water will penetrate the soil ball and hydrate that whole root ball every time you water, which really has to be every day. So the first thing that we do when we get these planters and have them ready to put out in our south face, so this is facing south, so it gets full sun all day long, really hot and dry right here on the south side of the store. We use a product that's called Aqueduct. Now the Aqueduct, you just mix it in water, you just mix it in the water that you're going to use to water your planters with, and we mix about 3 ounces of this per gallon, and then we'll give each planter a full gallon of water. And what the Aqueduct does is it binds to the potting soil. Every time you water, it attracts the water to it, and so it'll actually help that water penetrate all the way through the planter. But then as it gets hot, it'll actually help that soil retain more moisture than it normally can hold. And so even on super hot days, we can get away with watering just once to keep the soil nice and moist even though it's 100 degrees outside. So we will do the Aqueduct once a month through the hot, dry part of the summer to help the soil retain the moisture a little bit longer. Trick number 2 is we use our compost tea. The Seedlinger's Fertilixer is what we use for the base of our compost tea. It's an all-natural, all-organic fertilizer. It's a premium fertilizer. This is one of the best fertilizers that I've ever used, and it's got all the beneficial microbes and microorganisms in there that become the base of our compost tea. So we water our hanging baskets once every 2 weeks with the compost tea because those microbes and microorganisms will last for about 2 weeks. The compost tea program we did this year was amazing, and the Fertilixer just really helps the plants look really good. So fertilizer is critical. Not only do we want to use the Aqueduct, but we want to use the right fertilizer, and this type of compost tea fertilizer once every 2 weeks to really help that soil release all that nutrient and make it available to the plants. But then, since you have to water these planters every day, all that water leaches all the nutrient out the bottom of the pot. So if you're not fertilizing regularly, your planters don't do very well. So the key is to fertilize at least twice a week, if not sometimes even 3 times a week. And we alternate with different kinds of fertilizer to keep them looking good. So first up, we'll use Geranium Hanging Basket Food, which is a 20-20-20. So it's got a nice balanced fertilizer. So it has some nitrogen in there to get them to cascade. So to get your plants to cascade and crawl, if you want, like say your sweet potato vines to crawl 5-6 feet, they need that higher nitrogen, so that first number to get them to crawl. But then the phosphorus and potassium help them with blooming and just general health as well too. So let's say Mondays we'll use this fertilizer, then we switch, and on Thursdays we'll use our blooming and rooting, and that's a much higher phosphorus to encourage all the blooms and to keep them looking really good. So at least twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. We'll alternate our fertilizers to keep the hanging baskets looking really good. So essential that you use something to help your soil retain moisture, and you use a consistent fertilizer throughout the season to keep your baskets looking great and your planters looking good all summer long.